afternoon and welcome to 3 Talk with me, Nolene Maolana-Sango. Every product or service we purchase has an environmental impact. In light of this, the Ecologic Awards, which took place last night, recognized and rewarded those individuals, communities and municipalities who are making a significant contribution toward creating an ecologically sustainable society and environment. Today we'll be joined by some of the winners from the award ceremony that have produced products and services that have caused the least damage to the earth and its ecosystem. To tell us more about the Ecologic Awards, welcome Enviropedia publishing editor David Perry Davis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Enviropedia, what is that?
Well, Nolene, Enviropedia is this thing here that we've been publishing since 2013.
Okay.
Basically what you've got here...
From 2000
Sorry, from 2000.
We're now in
for the last 13 years.
Okay, we're now in 2013,
yes.
So for the past 13
years we've been publishing
you've been publishing this, yes?
What you've got basically is an A to Z environmental encyclopedia, from air quality to Z zero waste. Mm-hmm. Quick, short explanations of the subject.
What's Z zero waste?
Z, A to Z.
Oh,
topic A, air quality, through to Z, zero waste.
Nolene, it's a Friday, so do forgive yourself.
You're forgiven, Nolene.
Thank you.
So, quick explanations of the subject, but then most importantly what it does is it says, here's the subject, quick explanation, here are the organizations that can help you. So you go from the subject to the organizations. Yeah. So it's very much of a resource, practical resource, how to find out what the problems are and sort your problems out. So, okay. Encyclopedia, directory. Yeah. In the middle, we've got thought leadership. We've got wonderful thought leadership from people to say, how do we get out of the state that we're in? So Bishop Tutu, writing about Ubuntu and eco-Ubuntu. Mm-hmm. Princess Irene from the Netherlands, writing about ecotourism from a European perspective. Looking at things, the legal, the economic, the political dimensions of environment. And then, of course, at the back here, we've got the how-to. How to live in a more environmentally sustainable way. Yeah. So that's the Enviropedia.
So you can navigate your way through this encyclopedia in a very easy way. You've made it very easy for us, especially for some of us who are not really kind of fey with a lot of environmental issues.
So this is written in common sense, ordinary language for ordinary people like me, not rocket science. Yeah. It's also online, so we've got that www.enviropedia.com, but you've got to watch out for the spelling of it. There's an A, so this is spelled the British way you'd spell encyclopedia, Enviropedia. And it's online, it's free, and you've got the encyclopedia, the thought leadership, the directory, and the how-to.
Is the encyclopedia, the book, is that free as well, or do you have to buy that?
Unfortunately, we've got to pay for it to be printed.
I would have thought so.
Unfortunately, we only print every few years, but we update the website version all the time. And that's dynamic and that's moving.
So it's a good book to have in your on your coffee table, in your library, just to go and refer every now and again, especially if you're not sure about what is happening in the environment.
Yeah, and particularly for businesses. I mean, this is aimed at also, sort of senior level decision makers within companies, how to make things happen within their own organization. Look at what the subject is. You want to reduce your waste situation, look at the subject waste, see who can help you with it. And so it works in that way.
Okay. All right, well,
so
moving...
That's what the book is.
Okay, fantastic. And I love the green and the blue. Really love the cover. Love the cover.
Thank you.
It says "By Me."
Yeah, I hope so. But the green and the blue is very significant. You see, the difference between green and blue is quite critical. There's a genius economist by the name of Gunter Pauli, and he coined the term blue economy. And that's because he wanted to say the difference between green economy and blue economy is this, that with green economy, you're typically saving this at the expense of that. So you almost got a built-in dynamic of people or planet. And he says that's unacceptable. We've got to have a dynamic where the two are cohesive. And he also points out that some green products are more expensive than ordinary products. In a developing nation like ours, you can't tell poorer people that they should go and buy a more expensive product because it's green. No. And some green products are also not as efficient. So again, that's not acceptable. So he says what we need to do is we need to operate the way nature does, where there's cohesion. There is no waste in nature. Waste from one becomes food for another. So he calls it cascading nutrients. When you get that situation, you get a better product and you get a cheaper product.
Okay. Let's get into the business of the ecologic awards. But first, what is ecologic?
Okay. Well, if I want to get all highfalutin, we can quote Albert Einstein, a fairly bright guy, and he said, the world we have created has got problems that cannot be solved by thinking the way we thought when we created them. So he's saying we've got to think differently. Let's convert that into practical terms. What do we mean by that? If we look back 21 years ago, the world's leaders got together and the scientists got together and they said, we're messing up this planet. We've got to recognize it and do something about it. That was the Rio Earth Summit 21 years ago. They identified exactly the same problems as we've got today. So what's changed?
Nothing.
One thing's changed. It's got worse.
Yeah.
So why has it got worse? Is it because people don't know about it? I promise you that's not the case. We've been pumping out environmental information. Movies, films, etc. have been pumping out information. So that 20% of the world's population who are consuming 80% of the world's resources do know. Is it because they don't care? No, they do care. You scratch the surface of even the most toughened capitalist and you'll see that they do care. So why haven't things changed? Because we've been addressing the symptoms, not the cause. You don't catch rhino poaching like you catch flu. It's a symptom of a mindset that says money in the short term is more important to me than environmental stability. Litter and pollution is a symptom of a mindset. So ecologic is saying, let's identify those thought patterns that have been harmful to the earth and let's look to the logical alternative. So example of that, with our technology today, things have become more high speed. So our focus has become more and more short term. Well, nature operates in long-term cycles. So if you're operating on the basis of short-term decision-making, you're bound to damage the nature. So ecological principle one, it's not specifically one, but one of the principles of ecologic is say we've got to build in the long-term perspective as well. Take your short-term objectives, but build in the long-term objective. The same with our focus of vision. The more specialized you are typically today, the more you earn. So doctors, lawyers, IT, etc. So they narrow their focus of vision to become very specialist. But when you do that, you lose perspective of the greater whole. Nature is a whole integrated system. So we've got to build in that holistic viewpoint. We've got to say to our leaders, okay, tell us what your objective is short term, but are you accounting for the long term? So that's what ecologic is about. It's a series of principles of saying, what are the mindsets that are harmful and how are we going to do that? It's in that book. It's online, eco-logic. Those are the principles. That's what ecological is about.
If I'm not mistaken, Dave, last year at the Ecological Awards, if I'm not mistaken, you said something about a snake, a dirty snake. Did you say that?
I did.
Just give me that analogy.
I asked the audience if anyone had ever seen a dirty snake. Dead silence. And I said, well, isn't that strange? Because snake goes along the ground, through dirt, through mud, etc. How come you don't see a dirty snake? Well, it's because Genius Snake has designed his clothes in such a way that dirt actually can't adhere to it. Now, think of the implications of that. If we design our clothes the way Snake designed his clothes, no more washing machines. Energy savings, water savings, etc. And the point of my pointing that out to the audience was that nature is actually very clever. We've got a lot still to learn from nature, and at the cutting edge of science today, there's a topic called biomimicry, where we are improving our clothing, our transport, our IT, by copying nature. That's called biomimicry. So we better respect the fact that we've got a lot still to learn from nature. That was the purpose of pointing that little story out.
I actually quite like that. I hate snakes, but I saw when I read that or heard it, I thought that makes complete sense for me. And for me, the whole environmental issue became so much clearer when you made that analogy.
Can I take it one step further? Biomimicry is copying nature in products. But Gunter Pauli says we not only need to copy nature in terms of the products, but how we create them. Because you see, we've been operating on what you could call a break, make, waste process. Our manufacturing, we break nature, everything in this room. We either broken a mountain or rocks or trees or animals to make it. We then use it for a short while and then we throw it away. That's wasteful. Nature doesn't operate like that. Nature operates in waste from one becoming food for another. This is the blue economy principle. So let me give you an example of how copying nature in that context makes business sense. Let's say you have a chicken factory. It has a problem with flies. Flies infest the meat and they can't sell the meat. So they spend money on fly killers, poison, screens, electronic fly killers. Flies still get in. So in frustration, they call in the blue economist. Blue economist says, rule number one, don't fight nature because nature will always win in the long term. Collaborate with nature. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that stuff that you can't use, the blood and the stuff that you can't sell, put it over there, open it up as a fly restaurant, and we divert the flies. Flies like that. They like it so much that they call ma and pa, uncle, butty, etc. Next thing you know, you've got millions of flies over here. What do flies do? They lay eggs. Eggs become maggots. What do chickens like to eat? Chickens don't like to fly out to sea to catch fish. They do like to eat maggots. So the net result of collaborating with nature here is that the company is saving money not having to buy fly poison, saving money not having to buy fly killers, saving money not having to pay for the transport of their stuff somewhere else, saving money on feeding the chicken. Your chicken product now becomes better because it tastes like chicken should instead of tasting like fish. You got increased employment opportunities, so who wins? People, planet, and profit. That's blue economy.
And the example that you've just given me now is a winner from the Ecologic Awards last year.
Correct. They're actually doing it. This is not theory. This is in practice.
This is so fascinating. And absolutely, I could sit here talking to you for ages, but we have run out of time. So in a very, very few sentences, tell us about this year's Ecologic Awards.
It was fabulous. You know, this is the third year that we've been collaborating in partnership with SABC3. And as a result of the exposure that you are giving us, we're getting increased entries from the big guys and the little guys. And it's wonderful to see the diversity of entries and the quality of entries. It makes it very difficult for us judges, but it's, you know, because it's terrible to say no to somebody who's just fabulous in what they're doing. But what it does do is it gives me reason for hope. Absolutely, that in this country we are doing such fabulous things.
I mean, there was a fascinating story about someone selling urine. I think that one of the winners last year. I mean, I think that is absolutely fair. You may think, how disgusting, but it is nature.
It's blue economy. It's working with nature, collaborating with nature, and making things cheaper, better by working with nature, which is why we asked everybody to come to those awards dressed how they connect with nature. It was fun.
So how was the urine guy dressed?
I won't tell you.
Okay, thank you very much. But you know, you may think, oh, how disgusting. How could you talk about something like that? But if you went to, I think it's the Enviropedia website, you'd be able to see last year's winners and what they've actually done in order to contribute to the environment or the sustainability of our earth. I think it's absolutely amazing.
And it's fun. And it's positive instead of the doom and gloom. It's joyful. And
I'm looking forward to talking to this year's winners, or some of this year's winners.
They're
David,
fabulous. We've got some absolute heroes here.
Thank you so much for joining us on 3 Talk. If you have any comment on the Ecological Awards, our lines are open 086 2233 303. When we return, I'm joined by the winners from the Ecologic Company Awards.